Man. Didn't get most of it. Oh. It's not yellow. No, it's problems with the blue machine today. Had to switch it over to red.
Oh gosh.
It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item will be roll call.
Turkey,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Nail,
Here.
Sneed,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
West.
Here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone take a moment of silence if you like. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Well, I'll second for you then too, okay. Yeah. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Everyone's had a chance to look over the previous minutes. If there are no additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as presented. Katie, would you like to introduce the visitor?
We have Todd Sweeney back here with Navigate Building Solutions.
There was no public comment sent in, so we'll move to officers report, chief's report.
All right, so we just got done with EMS week. That was at the end of May, and we want to make sure that we do a public thanks for all the businesses and everybody that donated food. Pretty much everybody in town. There were several businesses, we mentioned them in the paper, that donated breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we pretty much had a meal for all the days for that week for all the crews. Cattlemen's Association came out again, so that was great. I think that was a great job. So we just wanted to say thanks to everybody on that and everybody that helped do the logistics on that. Katie. We started with our Zoll EPCR software implementation on the 1st of June. A couple of hiccups there, nothing major, you know, crews still getting used to the new software, where things are, stuff like that. So reports take a little longer, but we'll be keeping an eye, making sure everything's getting completed as it should be. And so all the calls can get built. So we haven't had any major issues, but there've been a couple of hiccups. Call volume looking like for Page County, we're looking at 3,036, Windsor 357. Major equipment, all the sold equipment was placed in service on June 1st. So like I said, we put all the new mounts in, all the new monitors installed, all the new auto pulses, everything's been placed on the trucks. So that was pretty good, no major issues there. AC repair for headquarters is ongoing. I just checked at the end of last week. We were still waiting on one part for the AC. I will follow up with Mr. Zeiler tomorrow and see that we can hopefully get that done this week. Yeah, it's starting to get warm. So, vehicle equipment, Unit 13. That was the truck that had to be towed from Station 5 to Warrensburg. Transmission has been ordered. Completion date is Thursday. I checked with them end of last week. They said they should have it done Thursday, and we should get it back that day. Instrument cluster. That's been an ongoing thing. I personally went over there, I believe Thursday, and I talked to Ryan Ball and I talked to the service manager. And I got them in touch with ARB. One's pointing the finger at one person, one at the other. But I think now that we got them in touch, because I'm always kind of the middleman, you know, so Rick Ball kind of tells me something. I'm trying to convey technical car stuff to them to ARB and stuff gets lost. So I'll put them together. So hopefully they will figure out module, whatever needs to be ordered so we can get that truck finally finished up. Mileages are below that. Education, we finished up the Zoe training and education on all our equipment that's been placed in service and on the report writing software. Also, we started our EMT class. We have a total of 13 students, and they've been going for about a month now. So,
What is the max class size?
we were gonna cap it at 15, just because a lot of times we only have one instructor. We can have two, but it makes it difficult to have too many people. So 15 was actually our goal to get into class. That was gonna be our largest size. So 13 is a pretty good number.
At what class size do we lose money?
Well, I don't.
I mean, I have to go back.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Depends on who teaches too.
Yeah.
Because if Justin teaches, we don't lose any money because he's salary.
Yeah.
But we had assumed though that if we were gonna increase the training and the numbers of programs, that we would operate it in the black on that. And that's why I was wondering if 13 is out of 20 or
Yeah.
13 out of 15. 13 out of 15 is good. All right.
Yeah. I'll check into that. Thank you for the numbers. Below that heat map, very similar on what we normally see. Looks like we had a couple there around to the north. We had a couple blimps. Don't know what the call types were there, but had a couple of little hot spots there around B Highway and looks like there's about 32nd Street there. Below that is the county heat map, pretty much same as always. Next, we have incidents by complaints reported to dispatch and incident by location. On the next page, reason for the chosen destination, closest facility, always going to be our main one because most of them go to Bothell as the closest facility. And then next underneath that is also transport by destination. Also, since we have Bothell in town, that's where the majority of the patients go. Next, we have incidents by day and hour. Again, just some data. I think this is going to be playing into possibly once we consider putting on an additional unit, you know, maybe next year, the year after, once we have that station completed. Event planning, we did, myself and Roy went to a briefing, Wings Over Whiteman. There is a exercise next week to get everybody on base and outline everybody and see where all the trucks are parked and everything else. We already have our 2 trucks are already, people signed up for that, so that's on the schedule and that's going well. Missouri State Fair, Roy's been taking reins on that. I've not really had my hands into that, but he's been organizing that for years and years and years. So I think that's going well. Mozart Music Festival, that's going to be in September. We had several planning meetings on that, and we had a special planning meeting with fire, police, EMS, and Bothell and dispatch, kind of outline the plan, and it went very well. I think county and PD are splitting police forces during that time. We're going to put on 2 units, and I've reached out to Nathan Burton at Warsaw Link. If we foresee to need another ambulance, he will be able to provide an ambulance and staffing. Cost, I don't know if he's going to build them. Last time I talked to him, he was just going to send them in and take the cost, pay them, his staff out of his pocket. So, yes, sir.
Balloon Festival,
Uh,
have any incidents at all?
No, I think all we had was one lady that tripped and fell picked her up, and that was it. I think the weather was bad on the first day. They were gonna go do that glow, and then they real quickly wrangled all those balloons back in. I think there was a little front coming through, but no, nothing else. So, and we had one truck out there for both of those days. So,
And I have one other question.
yeah, go ahead.
Back on your transports by destination, when we do transfers
Yes.
and you take Bothwell out of that, I'm just curious, where are most of the transfers to? Is it Boone or is it?
I would say so.
Kansas City?
I would say if I can't really speak for Boone University, but if we say Columbia or Kansas City,
Right, that's-
I would say the majority would go
East.
to Columbia. Yes, sir. Yeah, and then depending on cardiac or stroke, it just depends on where they go between Boone and MU Hospital there. But yeah, I would say we go primarily to Columbia, and then Kansas City. Would
I
go.
just wondered how often we took people to research and to
And
St. Luke's.
if you want some numbers, I can maybe do a percentage or something.
I was just curious, because when you take Bothwell out of there and then it was just straight transfers, I just wondered where we were going.
Yeah.
That's what racks up a lot of the miles on our vehicle.
It does, yes, sir. Yeah. I would say, I think the last 48-hour shift that the guys did, they went through the transportation 3 times. So that means we did 18 transfers. So each truck, out of the 6 trucks that we run 4 here in Ford Station 2, each of those trucks went through 3 times. So, and then if you do, 70, 80 miles one way, 80 miles back, you start, that's 500-600 miles just in transfers, on a 48-hour shift. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know, on that $7,000 transmission, how many more miles can you get out of unit 15?
So, I think engine-wise and everything else, it's in pretty good shape. Our long-term plan for that unit was actually to make it a rehab unit after we get everything else remounted. So, and that unit would primarily be used, for a lot of events, and like those turkey trots. We would also use them for like fire rehab, to take an extra ambulance over there. So
Basically, we just
firefighters,
local.
exactly, keep it local and use it for special events, things like that. Rehab situations, stuff like that, especially in these warmer days. You have an air conditioner back there, you can put a couple 4 people back there and cool them down, start some IVs and stuff that we can continue doing and keep that ambulance kind of in service that
Right
way.
now, we don't have an ambulance that's being used that way,
No, sir, no, we do not.
because they're all being used.
They're all being used, yeah, and this one with the high mileage, we didn't know how good the trade-in value was gonna be, after having that high mileage. Now with the new transmission, probably trade-in value would go up, but that was before we had the new transmission in there. That was kind of our plan, to keep it local and kind of use it for the community. Anything else? Okay, no problem. Staffing update, we're currently short 1 full-time paramedic. So we had 1 person resign. They just moved to another service, which was closer to home. They went to JCAD in Warrensburg. They live in Warrensburg, something opened up there, so it was just less travel, stuff like that. So I put actually some stuff out, interviewed some people, so I'm planning on getting that staffed, back full staff by July. So call volume for 2024. The main numbers is the total call volume. So we're up about 140 from last year, and we're also in line with 140 increase of transports. So those numbers fall kind of hand in hand on that one. But yeah, we are 140 calls above and 140 transports above what we did last year at this point. Any other questions? Anything? Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Flo? Now we'll move on to payment of the bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Now I will take a motion to approve payment of those outstanding bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Unfinished business, owner's representative, or you open right? Four here. This, the call doesn't include it.
Yeah, it does. It's right here. No, no. Pocket knife?
Special delivery.
Special delivery. It is, yeah. Thank you, sir.
No.
Well, we got additional copies. It's whatever you want.
Taste test.
It's so easy to get low
I think you're the only one here to represent your proposal if you.
No, I'm the civil engineer. I've already got the job, so it's pretty lucky. Nice to meet you. Yes, yeah. Process engineer. Nice to meet you.
Glad to know. I was curious. It actually seemed like people knew you when you walked in.
I've been working.
Right. I'll also pass these out because I don't know how much time you have, but it's just a few minutes. So I think this might help facilitate a quicker discussion than you diving into that book. About 5 minutes. I've got it.
Thank you.
I'm excited. I'm here because this is important. I'm Todd Sweeney. I'm one of the co-founders of Navigate Building Solutions. We do one thing in this industry, and we provide this service, and we provide it for public agencies. So when there's a call to do this service for a public agency in the state of Missouri, I'm gonna show up. And I'm gonna take the time to understand what you guys got going on and try to present our best foot forward, because it's, like I said, when it's the only thing you do and you're not doing a ton of other things or have revenue sources from other income streams, you believe that there's a purpose in what you do, and in this role, that there's a way to do it right, and you perfected that, then, you know, you made a career on it. That's the reason why I'm here tonight. Regardless of size, it's important to us. I did put together a quick little introduction. It follows along with the book, but if you flip the first page, we are a team of proven results, providing owner representative service for public agencies. We do work in Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas. We do have some federal clients as well that match that, but the majority, 95% of our work is done for municipal governments, K-12 public schools, or districts. Fire districts predominantly, library districts would be the other district type that we would find ourselves working with. EMS districts obviously is another core business. We got over 40 advisors that work with my company. My partner and I office out of Kansas City, Lee Summit, so an hour, 10 minutes away. People that would be assigned this job are coming out of our Kansas City office. We do have experience coming off the St. Louis side that we tap into. One of the colleagues I put in the book that you'll see is Colette. She and I have done 10 ambulance bases for St. Charles Ambulance District, and she's really good with the numbers, so I've leaned into her as well to help me do some pricing. You flip to the next page, again, 100% of our work is doing this role. We're not a contractor, we're an architect, we're not going to compete with you, my friend, although there's a lot of firms that do, you know that. Some of the big boys out there really diversify and just do hit everything. We don't. We think there's an absolute need in the industry for independent third-party advisor. Somebody that's not an architect, but has, I'm a licensed engineer. I came out of Raw, I got my degree. I was a design engineer for Burns McDonnell personally for 8 years before I got into construction, moved my way all the way up to the vice president of a company that's about the same size as McCown Ward over on the St. Louis side, right? During that time, we had a division of the company, of this commercial contracting company that did this, but it wasn't independent. We're still beholden to the architects, the engineers, relationships, the contractors. We still are beholden to subcontractors. We still had buying agreements with different people. So when we talk about value engineering or bringing best value solutions, it was always predicated on, well, we'll do that for the client as long as it doesn't hurt our ability to make money. And that we just didn't feel that was appropriate. So in 2016, my partner and I launched Navigate as an independent company. We're going on 8 years. And it has been remarkable. It's been a real blessing. We've been very blessed with the amount of clients we've been able to work with. We've actually facilitated the construction over $1.5 billion in Missouri in the last 5 years. All public projects. A lot of fire stations we've been doing, as you can see as we get into this. 90% of our work is with the agencies. Our team's been doing this since 1999. Before 2016, we were a division of a large general contracting firm. Now we are a specialty firm that does nothing but the consulting role. We provide services out of St. Louis and Kansas City. We've got the next slide shows you, and you'll see our qualifications, a whole section on this. You don't need to read it all, but we do a ton of fire and EMS. And here's some of the clients. We could add City of Berkeley to this. We're working with them on their fire station. We got signed up on that 2 weeks ago. So that's out of a St. Louis office. But here's the work. Quite frankly, when you talk about EMS districts, the bigger ones very much see the need. The smaller ones sometimes, because the project can be 850 or it can be $1 million. There's a struggle with, man, I don't want to spend money, but I need every penny to build my station. I mean, it's just that simple. But we started the company fundamentally, and I can prove it through some information I'll show you. We're going to save you 2 times what we spent. That's a mission, and I got every single job, every teammate on my company has to put together a performance record. I can show you the ones in St. Charles Ambulance District. And that's one place I really struggled to do it because we were doing prototypes for them. And when you get into a prototype, if you're doing the same site design over and over and over again on the same site, you learn that all the things you can do to improve it, and you start not having the ability to pay for yourself anymore. And yet they refuse to let us go because there's a lot more than just the dollars. There's the management, the time, the making sure it's done right, make sure that it's transparent, there's integrity in the process, and that you're buying according to state law and all those things that just make a healthy relationship. Our fees went down as we continued to do prototypes, and that was fair because we weren't putting as much energy into figuring it out. But each site was different, each project was still different, and we still added value enough that they continued. We're doing 2 bases right now for, I think that's number 10 that we're doing. So that gives you some examples. As I said, if you flip to the next page, we're generating savings. How do we do that? We quarterback. You're going to have multiple consultants. You got a civil engineer, you're going to hire an architect. The architect then we have to put together, if we're on board, we'll put together detailed rules and responsibilities together with you. If he's already on board, he'll be in the room. Right? We're going to go through, we're going to say, okay, who's doing geotech? Who's doing survey? Who's going to do your emergency alert? You're going to say, I'll take it. Because you guys always want to pick your own emergency alert system. Great. Be a consultant and informed entity, but don't be responsible for buying it. I wanna buy it through the consultant, so it's wired correctly, you got the right signal outage, you got everything working the way it's supposed to be. But you're dang right, your user group should be involved with picking the system they want, especially if it's consistent from base to base to base to base. They don't wanna turn that over to a consultant. But there's a fine line there, what you do and what they do, and then how we have to buy it to meet procurement law, the state of Missouri. So we'll go through that and put a full responsibilities together, but that's 12 to 18 consultants. You're gonna have 100 vendors and suppliers on this. By the time we buy brick, we buy stick, we buy roofing product, you know, you're moving dirt, you're handling utilities. That's how many people are gonna be involved with your job. It's a big coordination effort, a lot more than it seems. 8 to 12 owner direct services, you'll have a lot of different folks, you know, your furniture you buy, if you're gonna put any weight equipment in here, you guys wanna buy that yourself probably. And that's good, because you can save some money doing it, but we gotta still do it so that if anybody questions you, you cross, you know, dotted your Ts, sorry, don't do that. Dot your I's and cross your Ts. We help with procurement, we help with the what, he's gonna define the how, and I mean, he's gonna find the what, we're gonna define the how we're gonna do it, how we can get it done in the most cost-effective use of local resources. Absolutely critical, right? I could spend all kinds of time telling you how we do that effectively. B27, construction advisor, and then manager direct purchases. You flip to the next slide, everybody wants to know, that seems to be the hot button, we generally get hired for this reason alone, is how do we manage budget? I'm gonna walk you through about 4 slides on that, and then I'm gonna get off on the questions, because again, you only got so much time. I believe our role isn't to be, you may have it in your package. General contractors, especially folks that are really good builders, will say, I could do everything that was in that RFQ. Just hire me, I'm local. And they can do an estimate, right? I've got competitors that say they're gonna do an estimate, and they do square foot estimate. Well, heck, he can do a square foot estimate, so can your architect. You don't need that. That doesn't do you any good. I'm explaining why. Your contractor could take a set of drawings and he could price it as well as I can when it's fully designed. I have no doubt about that. He knows material costs, I know material costs. He knows vendors and suppliers, I know vendors and suppliers. The gap is between the square foot number and when it's done and you go out to bid. It's being a planning consultant, somebody that can foresee and predict and knows the value of all the things that are gonna go into this project, right? Because if you do square foot, I can tell you square foot can change. Let me get into the next slide. Let me keep going. Sorry, I'm talking too much. First, before I get into that, I know you guys talking about 850, I heard $1 million. I know the last station it is, I did my research, 2016. And I can tell you that was a day and night station. I've seen a lot of ambulance districts, I've seen a lot of rural districts. For engineering building isn't impossible, right? People do it, and it can be a heck of a lot less expensive. We built a nice station, guys. I mean, it's not cheap what you built. It would be very consistent with those 2 pictures on the bottom down there. These 2 here on this slide, the one I'm on, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pitch back up. I'm on the green row. The 2 on the bottom are just 2 of the base stations we did for, so right after this page, right after this one, we're gonna go to the one with the green ribbon on it. Yeah, there you go. There's 2 base stations. I would say, you know, yours looks a lot like, you like a little bit of siding on the one side, but you had an all brick building from what I could tell, and you know, it had multiple lit roof lines, and it was good. It was a quality build. Good job. We were building those for 931, 912 back in 2016. Funny enough, that's exactly when you guys built yours, 2016. And I'm guessing if somebody's throwing out 850, they're probably thinking back to what they may have built that last one for. No doubt they're right. No doubt they did. No doubt it's changed. Because remember, I told you prototypes, right? These bases aren't the same, exactly the same, but it's a prototype. They've been building it at SCAD. So you can see how it went up in 2017. That was because we were starting to really push the volume of work in the industry in 17. COVID hadn't hit yet, but man, were we busy back then, right? You couldn't get bidders to show up. And another thing too here is in this, especially in Kansas City, we see a lot of people want to use negotiated contracts with CM at risk, different things like that. You never really know. I'm telling you, that's the number of bidders that were on those jobs. These were competitively bid. So my numbers aren't skewed by some poor contracting I did or some negotiated contract I did. These were actually competitive bids. And as you move the way up, you can see as of 2021, I got 2 more they're gonna bid this year for and I'll share the information, but you're running 2.2 million. You guys don't have 2.2 million, from what I gather, right? You probably don't have 2.3, maybe you do. I'm sorry, I don't want to be insulting in any way. I'm making the presumption that that's a lot of money for a dang base, quite frankly, right? It's okay, I don't want to lose hope here. The reason why, SCAD's not gonna change, they're big old, you guys are a big district too, they're a big district, and they got a prototype, they put a lot of energy in that prototype. They don't wanna change it. They just don't, right? But you could. So go to the next slide. Let's look at some fire stations, because no fire station district is no fire station district that I know has built 10 in a row, right, over the last 5 years. They're different, they're unique. So before COVID, you had these, I apologize, dude, I wish I.
That's
Sorry.
all right, I'll have to get a copy of it.
There's 3 stations we did, you can see we're running in the 200 to $300 a square foot, that was pretty common back before COVID. Right, 237, 288, 298, those were all bid projects, City of Glendale, St. Charles County Ambulance District was one of them, and Rock Hill. What was interesting about that though is those could still be, I mean, Rock Hill was a very inexpensive station, but it was a horrible site. So there's always variables. You know, that's the problem with doing square foot costs. You just throw those out, but they're meaningless, quite frankly. I mean, and I'll show you why. Here's one example, because if you just did square foot, and I can tell you that Rock Hill, if I showed you pictures of it, it'd be very different. But then comes COVID, and Webster Groves comes out, a number of stations do, and they're hitting 364, and all of a sudden we're hitting 400, as you can see in 2022, $400, $500 a square foot. We're like, what the heck? But I want to draw your attention to the 184. So somebody could walk in this room today and tell you, you could do your base, 2 bay, must be stacked, because I heard you say 4 ambulances, so it must be long bays.
Oh, no, it's right across the street here, so we got them, but we only have 2 doors, so we have to
But then
kind
you widen out, got the same thing in Crestwood, right, yeah. No, okay, so anyway, so it's a bigger bay though, it's not just 2 doors and bays. I was looking online, I saw the 2
Yeah.
doors, I'm like, well, first, how many bays? How big of a bay is it, right? How many square feet is it? Are you doing your storm shelter or not doing storm shelter? Are you doing Plimo vent and doing a local exhaust off the unit, or are you just ventilating the whole space, right? Are you doing bunk beds, or what's your EMS? Obviously you do a bunch, but what's your crew size? Are you doing separate cabinets and kitchen gear for each crew? Most people are. They got 3 separate cabinets, they got 3 separate refrigerators, you know, but you don't have to. And the example here is Washington Community Fire Protection District had to do a station, which is bottom left. And if you were somebody that only did St. Charles fire stations, you'd say you can't do it for less than $450. You can't do it less than $500 a square foot right now. The prices are just whack. That's just what it is. It's inflation. It's all you're just done. That's all you got. It's the only choice you got. But they wouldn't be telling you the truth, because the truth is you can land a budget. You can build the budget, guys. You absolutely can. You just got to have somebody that's willing to work hard at it, right? Take the time to give you the choices with numbers attached. You know what I mean? Numbers attached. If he moves the base around, he says, hey, look, this one involves, 20 cubic yards of cut and fill, but you don't have your site's nice and flat, pretty much. Or this one requires a retaining wall. How do you answer the question unless somebody gives you accurate cost information? And if there's $100,000 savings in that, your answer is pretty easy. Go with the savings, because both are fine. He doesn't care. He's an engineer. He'll design either one. Right? I mean, honestly, you wouldn't care if you're doing cut and fill or
Right on.
I mean, but the point is there's lots of ways to solve these problems, but without numbers attached to your decisions, you can't make, it frustrates the living bejesus out of me. I hate to say it. I know there's an engineer in the room, and I'm sure he doesn't. But when architects will throw all these questions at you and never give you a dollar sign associated with it, or tell you if the questions they're asking you, if they're framed even in budget. Now, I had this one architect come into City Hall for a public agency. He says, you can have a choice between 10 by 15, that small office, 10 by 15, come on, you can put a sofa in the thing if you want. You know what I mean? 16 by 20 or 20 by 25, those are your 3 options. Being well knowing that they didn't know, so they said, we'll take the one in the middle. Are you kidding me? That's 3 times bigger than my office, and I run a pretty decent sized company. You don't need it. But they're not framing the options. You're assuming they're framing the options to be within budget, and they're not. They're just framing options. And as soon as you say, yeah, I'll take that middle one, click done, they design around it. What we want to do is we want to be a planning partner. We don't want to wait for the drawings to come out and estimate. I want to be a planning partner. Before he brings a site plan to you, I want to sit down with him and say, okay, let's go do all this. What do you think about this, this, and this? And what are your numbers? Or, man, do you agree that if we do this, there's going to be a lot of cut and fill or not? What's the utility? Do we really need this? And I'm going to put prices to him. I'm going to ask him for his opinion. And then I'm hoping that he'll join me and we'll come and discuss it with you as a team. right? It's not Todd saying, oh, this is what I found out, right? Or trying to make him look bad. What's the point of that? There isn't any. It's working together. I do the same thing with architects. We just don't let them bring stuff to you until you got a number attached to it, because you got a budget to hit. So my whole point on this slide is simply to say, you can design to a budget. All three of these were done post-COVID. So somebody came up to you and said, I can build a fire. This is what like I said, I built a 2-bay fire station for $184 a square foot. Don't use that firm, because they're telling you it can't be done. I'm telling you it can't be. You're like, $80. Somebody else comes in and says, I did a 2-bay fire station for $490. This is the one on the far right. They're not lying. They're not lying. And then somebody else says $338. These are all 2-bay fire stations, right? But you can just look at the picture and see the difference, guys. You really can't. I'm not saying which one's the one you want. I'm just saying you can design a budget. So that's what our job is to give you the information to do that. And that's why we're not just an estimator like you would get from a GC who's waiting for the architect to put something in front of them and he prices it. We're a planning expert with you. We're going to sit down. We're going to work collaboratively with the design team to make sure that you're making decisions based on numbers and you know the value of the decisions you're making. That's our job in the very beginning of this journey. Okay. Then what we're going to do is, and yours is the same thing. I looked at your site. If you look at the next, did I go past? No, yeah, I went to the next one. I said, just looking at what I know about your job right now, if you're wanting to be at $1 million, guys, I'm just going to lay it out straight up. You're going to have, you're not going to do that with a full brick. I don't know. I don't think, let me price it, make sure. Maybe I don't know what I don't know. Maybe, like I said, I assume you were talking about 4-bay or double stack. Maybe it's not. Maybe maybe your design team comes, but you're probably not doing that with the building that you did with you're not doing the previous building you built, in my opinion, for $1 million. Can you do a 2-bay or a 4-bay, an apparatus bay that holds 4? Absolutely. I'm going to start then pushing the architects and engineers. How do we save some money, right? There was a time wood got crazy on us. You all know that, right? So the whole industry shifted to light gauge metal stud. I've been doing construction for 30 years. When I was at the Count Gordon type firm, it wasn't them, because I don't want to name who I was with, doesn't matter. And I was number 3 in that organization. We'd sit down and we would at least every 6 months before COVID, and the primary way we judged inflation was indexes, the steel index, probably no different than people do with crop or feed or whatever. And we look at the index. The problem with the steel index is it covers all product. It's too raw. It's too raw data. It's too macro. Because what was happening is with the steel index, it wasn't going up much, right? So you're not accurately predicting inflation. You go into the detail and get into light gauge metal stud, that was going up 25, 30%, and it was going up fast because everybody was shifting from wood to light gauge metal stud. We knew that. We were trending that. We were getting into that details. My company gets into it monthly. Not only that, but I'm the only guy in the state of Missouri right now that's been in as many public jobs as I am. So again, I got Berkeley Firehouse going out in a month. I got 2 bays going out, 2 more ambulance bases going out. Missouri prevailing wage helps. So I don't have any issue estimating work in Sedalia. People say, well, how do you get it accurate here? It's not hard. I do work all over Missouri. I mean, I'm Springfield, Northwest, Northeast. There's some nuances, but prevailing wage is the first major thing that kind of normalizes that in the state of Missouri. You're a public agency, you got to use prevailing wage, right? So your wages are pretty consistent. I can look them up. Not a lot of differences. Next thing might be if you got local suppliers. We'll figure that out. Because like if you got you're thinking precast, but you don't have any local precasters here, or down in southeast Missouri right now, they got one of those guys doing the ICF, the insulated concrete floor panels. Because that's down there, it makes it a little bit more inexpensive. But I'll figure that out. That's not an issue for me. I'm working an hour from here. Half your guys are going to come from Columbia or Kansas City anyway to bid on this. If they're not local, hopefully we get it done by local people. I'm real serious about that. But my point on that is we can estimate that, we can make it right, get it accurate. And I'm concerned that this is $1 million job. I'm not concerned that we can't build you your station for that. And I'm very confident we can lay out the decisions in front of you so you can make your own dang decision on what you want to spend money on or not. That makes sense? You want to spend $1.1 million, that's going to be your call. You're going to tell me your budget. I'm going to do everything I can to get you the most you can get for that amount, and then give you the options if you want to go over it. All right. Well, hot diggity dog, that's all I had so far. Any questions? I was trying to go quick. She said 10 minutes and I blew it because I realized I was the only one here, so I tried to take advantage of the time. I was a lot dinner with my wife, so I mean.
I got a question if you don't mind. Anyway, it might be in your packet, and I believe that the potential to, pay for your services times 2 or whatever it may be, but ballpark, what are your fee structure? What do you have a percentage, construction costs? How do you, just ballpark, how do you price this stuff?
Absolutely. So we'll have a fixed cost
Okay.
for our fees,
Yeah.
not to exceed, and we'll run rates against it.
Mhm.
Beauty of that is because we're not a percentage, right? The interesting thing about percentages is that there's I don't know that it resonates, it probably does occur with some. I'm not going to suggest it's industry wide, but whenever there's a percentage associated with something, what's the incentive to keep it lower, right? I mean,
Cost overrun is money in your pocket.
right. So once I set a flat fixed fee, I'm done. That's all I'm gonna make. I don't care if your job goes up to 2.5 million, I assume it was gonna be $1 million, or if it goes down to $500,000, I assume it was $1 million. My job is one thing is to save you money, right? So to answer your question, the way we save money is, one, I'm gonna help you if you allow me to buy your architect. Your architect's gonna be one of your biggest, unless you already signed a contract with them. I don't think you did. One of the biggest things we gotta do is we gotta very clearly define the scope of work that they're gonna do. That means all their subconsultants. That's the one thing that often gets overlooked is, obviously they're not doing civil engineering, but you already hired them.
Structural MVP will be, their subs.
Okay, yeah, so, but there's more than that too. So who's doing low voltage, right? Who's doing signage gets left out of these things so many times, it makes me want to throw up. And there's still gonna be a monument sign maybe, or building signage, but it could be 25 grand. But if you buy it later, it's gonna cost you 35 grand, right? Get it included in the bid packages, have them design it, right? Unless you might say, hey, I got a local sign guy that does all the signs. I'm like, all right, well, we'll buy directly from him. How do we do that? We got to make sure we do in accordance with law. But there's always that case. I did a station in Brentwood, and the guys were like, "Man, we got a local masonry guy. We really like to see him get all the masonry work." And I said, "Well, you're Missouri, you're a public agency. My suggestion is one, the co-ops help, but the masonry work wasn't underneath the co-op, so we couldn't go that direction. So I said, what I can do is I'll just pull that out completely. Let's pull that bid package out because you guys all know the guy, and you want him to do the work. Let's let him stand on his own 2 feet. Let him bid on this package that's clean and for his work only, and not bundle underneath some GC where the clarity of what he's really offering is getting lost in some bigger package with guys you may not even know. You know what I mean? And we did. We pulled out and he won the work because he did want the work. He was aggressive. He did bid the work, and because it was publicly bid and it was that specific scope of work. Quite frankly, there were a few bidders. We got a couple. Don't take me wrong. I think that'd be odd if you just got one. That wouldn't look right. But it wasn't probably the 50 of them that GC might have gotten because it was standing alone, right? And that was healthy. So there's lots of ways to do that. So one is we're going to work with you to help you identify all the subconsultants that need to be on the job, how we want to break this out, how we want to package it, and then that all needs to be written into the architect's contract. Secondly, I will in the next probably 2 weeks sit down with your chief, sit down with you, and we need to actually set the expectation of what you can spend and what you want to spend on this. Because that's an expectation I want in the architect's contract. Because the next thing I'm going to suggest, and this is very, very important for budget management, is that architect's contract to have if it goes over that, I'm resigning it for you guys at no cost. 0 cost. Nothing worse than something comes over bid on budget or overpriced, and they want to charge you more just to get it back to where it should have been in the first place. If we're all on the same team together, let's all row the boat in the same direction. Every time we do an estimate, I should be getting with the designers and engineers. We should be going through everything. Everything. I want your structural, your mechanical, electrical. We all sit without you guys. We're going to go through and we're going to make sure. Is this right? Are my assumptions correct? Is the estimate right? Then we're going to bring it to you as a team. Everybody agrees. So they shouldn't have an issue signing that, and they never do. So it's things like that I want to do. That starts saving you money. Right? Once we get them on board, then we'll do multiple estimates. We'll do value engineering. We'll do budget tracking. We'll do all the things. Everybody on my team is, I've got guys, our average tenure is 20 years, and they're all come down to construction. They're good builders, they're master builders, and know what they're doing, right? Then we'll go through the journey of getting this thing set up. We'll buy it. We'll look for ways to buy stuff direct. We'll do scheduling. So if you get any long lead items like a generator, so we'll buy that early before it goes out the bid. So buy your generator through co-op, we'll work with you to see if that's viable, and if you feel comfortable with that. There's Omnia, Sourcewell, Tips, there's a number of agencies, we do that a lot with public agencies, because that's one of the big things that can cost you money, is where a GC is building in more time on the job site, waiting for equipment to show up. So we're generally reducing construction contract times by 4 months, when we think ahead, build the construction schedule, identify those things and buy them. It does require you guys to buy something before you know the total cost, before the bids come in. Right, I'm gonna try to give you all the confidence in the world that you should do that, because we don't miss numbers. I mean, but you don't know me yet, but I'm gonna convince you that we're accurate, that you can do that, you have confidence doing that based on my budgets. Then that will save you a lot of money, especially with the direct procure. And then when we go into contracting beforehand, we have a 4-person team, does a complete constructability analysis with the intent of identifying and mitigating change orders. So I'm gonna put 2 guys on there at a minimum who are regular bidders for companies like J.E. Dodd, McCown Gordon, Newkirk Novak, Crossland down here, whoever, right? I'm forgetting names. Anyway, who are regular bidders, they're gonna look at it as if they're bidding the job, they're gonna try to find any change order we can, they're gonna acknowledge it, we're gonna get corrected before it goes out to bid, and then we represent you during construction if you want us to, and that's claims and change orders, and generally we offset our fee just in those negotiations alone, not to mention what we've already done, right? My fixed fee, I can tell you, I don't know with the public venue if this is what we're supposed to be doing or not, I'll give you a number tonight, I don't know how that reacts to the fact that if you're gonna ask them for a number 2, that they can listen to this, I'm assuming. But I'll write it down, hand it to you, I'll tell you exactly what I'm gonna charge you. I mean, seriously, I don't mind, I'm just trying to maintain the integrity of the process.
I got a question. What do you guys use to communicate? Do you guys have a certain software where you schedule everything out? What's your main means of communication? And then how much time do you guys spend on actually coming down here and spend on site and actually get eyes on the project?
Wonderful, I'm glad to hear that. So I'm gonna answer the first part, which was what kind of big tools do we use for documentation and communication? So what we have found is that organizations, the bigger they get, public agencies, the more robust they are, the more likely they're gonna have their own cloud-based data management system. The smaller the organization, the more they like just simple stuff. I want a spreadsheet, I want an email, I want, a roster of who to call. I want regular scheduled Zoom meetings and this and that. All that is the reason why we haven't adopted our own system. But I work with everyone. So if you guys got your own data management system, project management system, we're happy to adopt it. I guarantee you we've done it before, because there aren't many that we haven't used. Having said that, what I would recommend for this organization, assuming you don't have that, is we use all the Microsoft platform tools that are available to us, Microsoft Scheduling, Microsoft, PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, all that platform, because it's most commonly, it's the most user-friendly not only for us, but for the contractors we're going to attract on this size project.
Do you use project?
What?
The program project?
Yeah. And I tell you what, and most of the builders on a project that's $1 million are doing the same thing. No, they can't afford the Procore, so we bring Procore to the platform, which is what the big boys use, and we shove it into the bid documents and you're paying for it, right? Not only in them having to get the program, nobody tells you that, right? They're like, oh, we use Procore, it's bad, it's super good. And they talk about all things whiz-bang things is gonna do, or BIM 360. It is, as long as everybody you're attracting to your job, who can be very qualified builders, also know how to use it. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're burdening them with a tool they can't use. You know what I mean? It's just, if you're arc welder, it's different from the other, you can do other types of welding and be really good at that, but not be, you know what I mean? Plasma welder, it's a different thing, man. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and time on site.
Okay, thank you. Second question was time on site. So what we're gonna do is, quite frankly, I don't believe I need to be down here a lot during construction. I need to be on your job site once a week. I need to incorporate cameras on the job site. Since it is a site, this doesn't work so well. We're doing a police station in Branson renovation. You can't do that. I have guys down there at minimum 3 days a week. I'll have people on site down there. For a brand new build, I don't need to, especially during the civil engineering, during the survey, because you see everything with the cameras on the site. Cameras cost $250 at most. It's key. Don't get the ones that you can rotate. You don't need them. Don't get the ones that are constant feed. You don't need them. You get the ones that hit multiple shots. It gives us content. Also require the contractor to share the content they're already generating, right? Which is their formal daily reports. So every single day I am touching your project, I'm reviewing it. Usually put a half an hour in a day for my guys to go through all the video feeds, to go through all the daily reports, check the weather, see what's going on. I will tell you this, if there is anything critical going on this site, I'll be here 5 days a week. Absolutely. We don't set up, we'll be here once a week no matter what, and then we'll be down here for pre-installation meetings. We'll be down here for any critical installs. There won't be anything we miss. Really won't. And we find that's a very effective way to manage. The opposite of that, some people would say, oh man, pay for me to be out there all the time, full time. You're paying a lot of money, guys. People aren't cheap. For somebody to sit around and watch a guy do dirt when he's going out there, I mean, you still got a testing agency, you still got people that are touching the job site, you just don't need a waste of money. And we think that would be a waste of money. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
And a guy who'll be doing it with Scott, strong builder, came out of McCarthy with us, and he's in Raymore right now. It's about an hour drive for him.
Let's look at delays and overruns.
Yes, sir.
Suppose, I don't know, a Chinese ship gets stuck crosswise in the Panama Canal, or somebody takes a bridge out in Baltimore.
No, those never happen.
Well, that can never happen, both, but.
When it does, right?
Yeah, well,
Can I
I
answer that?
mean, I heard one time it was sick at one project that it was 6 months waiting on doors and windows.
So can I answer that?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, you guys all do, I don't know, there's probably a builder in the room, right? I would guess, or whatever you guys do, you do really, really well because you've been doing it, you're all older gentlemen, so you've been doing it like me, we've been doing it for a long time. In construction, I answer that question one way, is people are still getting doors. People are still getting product, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were now choosing who was the most important builder. Do not think the material and product did not exist. It did. It's just less quantity. So what they were doing was they were prioritizing who got it. They were telling you, I can't get it because you're not a high enough priority. Okay. Period. I'm telling you that because I've been in this for a long time and I'm good at this. The way I got from hammer nails to number 3 in a $1 billion firm because I knew how to make my boss money. Right? I really did. And I knew,
So you got the connections.
you stockpile, you hoard, you do whatever you got to do to get the material, and then you pick who's most important. And do not think that doesn't happen. The only way I can change them to make you as a public agency more important, one contract, how we write it, and if we do it well. You got you got the McGeady, isn't he working with you, or he's one of the partners of one of the firms? Who are you working with as your attorney? Is it Kamer? Okay, he's got a guy in his outfit, construction guy. I mean, I like him, some people like him, some people don't, but he's pretty good. Working with him will write you a pretty bulletproof contract and then prioritize. 2, it's lessons learned. Oh my gosh. So I remember about 20 years ago, I sat down with a bunch of superintendents and I was asking, you're gonna laugh at me, you're gonna say, I said, how do we control quality control? I'm sitting here representing a public agency and these guys are like, dude, you're not my general contractor. I'm not gonna fix this problem for you. Not only that, but you're telling me that I put in unsuitable, no, don't use that, he's here. Masonry. I put the masonry wrong. First thing they're gonna do is they look at you and say, prove it. Prove it, Todd. Prove that I did that wrong. I'm like, my guys are like, he did it wrong. And I got the burden of proof. And it doesn't work, especially if you're a public agency and the press is waiting for you to get done on a certain day, or you're a school district and you got kids come in. You always end up defaulting because they just delay. They play the blame game. It was done right until you prove wrong. I'm gonna move, or I'm gonna shut this job site down until you prove that I did something wrong. And while I shut it down, you're gonna pay for every nickel of it. So we figured out, I said, what about this whole liquidated damage thing? I'll be honest with you, very, very seldom do you ever use liquidated damages for schedule because somebody's late. But what you can do now for quality control, sorry, I'm off topic now, come right back to your schedule question. Off topic is for quality control, you put that contract language in, liquidated damages. Now, that guy says, I'm gonna shut this thing down until you prove that I did something wrong. You're gonna pay for every bit of it. That's fine, because I'm gonna charge you every single day when I do prove it's wrong. Right? And I'm gonna charge liquidated damages every single day until you prove it wrong. Because I'm gonna go underneath the assumption that it is wrong, and you now have the burden of proof. Little tweaks like that. Same thing with schedule. So schedule, 4 years ago, we would always mandate the duration. I'm a great builder, Todd Sweeney. I know how to do schedules. All my team knows how to do schedules. We'll put a fair schedule in so you don't pay extra. But we'll require them to be done on a bay. It used to be 6 months. Now, bay station's more like 10, to be honest with you, right? Could be even 12, depending on long lead items. So I would say, I know for a fact in my head, my guys schedule it. We would do a schedule just like any of the big boards would. And project schedule, to answer your question. And then we would put it in the bid document, say, have to be done by this time. We knew it was safe, that nobody would really have to do overtime or premiums to get there. And then we bid it. We don't do that anymore. We completely changed course. What we're doing now is we require the bidders to put in calendar days for the work to be completed. Then it's very important that you add a paragraph into your contract, into your bid documents. That's not a paragraph, it's like 3 sentences, that says that is going to be used as an evaluation. You gotta have that, right? You gotta have that, because that, without that, they're gonna say it was arbitrarious or whatever the attorneys say, something like that. You add that in. Now, all of a sudden, what you're doing is you're looking at it, you're saying, this guy's $1 million, this guy's $950, but he's 3 weeks quicker, or this guy's $1 million, this guy's $950, but he's a month longer. You're gonna say, I'll take 50 grand in a month, probably, would be my guess. That's huge. Now what that also does, to tie it back to liquidated damages, I'm sorry, I'm getting too deep, is because they set the duration, when it does come to schedule in the last 2 years, I can now hold it to them. Court of law is actually gonna give me more precedence because he set his own date. I didn't force it upon him. He said it and then agreed to it. It changes the whole dynamic. That's been sick. We didn't do it for that reason. We did it more because we were getting nervous because of the long lead items and all this stuff that we might accidentally put in a schedule that did cost you more, you know what I mean? But when we realized what the back end of this was enabling us to do, it was powerful. And that's just from bidding jobs. Dude, I've been a lot of public jobs, man. Like, dude, you just keep learning. My estimator will call me up on this next fire station probably and say, hey, we're putting this coding system down on this floor. I haven't priced that in forever and I heard it's going up. Can you add that to the bid form? My project manager adds it to the bid form. The bidders are looking at this whole project and they got this one little line that says epoxy coating, you know, I want to know the unit cost on that. They're like, that seems kind of micro. I mean, that seems kind of, you know, specific, but they do it, they fill it out. That's why my numbers are so good. I'm constantly testing my unit cost. And I know what things cost. And when my estimate, I have 2 full-time estimators, when they don't know what something costs, we just get it in the next bid cycle, right? The bidders don't know why. You know, I was asking for cost on light gauge metal stud there for like 3 bids. The only thing I was asking for was light gauge metal, just to check my number. And I actually had a contractor say, man, dude, I bid like 3 of your jobs now. Why do you keep asking for this? You know what I mean? Why aren't you asking about so many other things you could be asking about? I don't know. I mean, there's other things that cost more than just the metal, the roof, or and I just said, because I'm trying to track the cost of it. To be honest with you, I'm using you to get data that I don't otherwise have. And that doesn't hurt your bid. That's a supplemental thing that comes in 24 hours later. I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I painted parking lots and there was a time I couldn't get paint.
I know.
But the city of Warrensburg had paint, they had it all cornered and
Well, that too, and you gotta be flexible.
they weren't painting, but they were waiting.
So second thing we do is we do a full construction schedule. We look for long lead items. I already told you about that. If you can pull those out now and buy them ahead of time, which helps. Second thing too is you gotta be flexible. Sometimes you do have to say, if you can't get the paints in your spec, say, okay, what alternative products do you have? If you do allow that flexibility with the contractor, and then you got somebody like me you would know this, but some agencies wouldn't. They wouldn't know, well, is it really fair? Is it really equal? Am I getting a fair value? We can help with that. Some things you may already know, some things you don't. You know, he would know what dirt costs are, haul off costs are, you know, if he's getting a fair, you know what I mean? And we can help with other things. There is a point we gotta be flexible. We had one fire station, we actually came up with the idea. We were actually had a guy we were using to get a second-hand switch gear from. My team pulled out. And we would populate that into the mix when we needed to, not as the final solution to get the fire station going. Lincoln County did that. In fact, we actually suggested they split it and make 2 different panels. You could get the 2 panels, but you could do one. They took the 2 panels, got Lincoln County up and running until the new gear came in. And then Chief Marler's like, you know, dude, I don't understand why we need to swap this out. Everything works the way it's supposed to. And the engineers were like, yeah. So that same firm took it and put it in the St. Charles firehouse that was coming up, right? So it all worked out fine, man. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Any other questions? Have taken too much of your time. Apologies. I get excited, guys. What we do is all we do. I know we add value. I'd love to work for you guys.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty neutral. I'm an independent engineer. I work with all the locals, but I'm neutral. I'm open to this, and I just want to recap. So the difference with the owner's rep, you have the ability legally and through all this, procurement process and this whole entire process as the owner's rep, kind of basically to tell the architect how they need to package it and to put it in a line item bid form. And then you have the ability to negotiate each one of those items with the GCs. Whereas if it's a design bid build and the bid comes in, it is what it is. It might be a lump sum or whatever. I'm just trying to like compare
Good
the
question.
two processes. What do you have the ability legally to intervene and control the numbers?
Legally, once you receive that bid, you have to set certain things that you're gonna use as evaluation criteria. It could be schedule, it could be this, it could be that. That's why it's so critical to actually list it, right? But we can't go to a person that comes in and gives me a bid and then comes back and says, hey, look, I know I'm 50K higher, but if you let me change this, this, and this, I can be under bid and I can save you some. You can't do that, right? It's what you can do is you can talk to contractors, you can interview them and discuss with them and identify if there's some low hanging fruit. Hopefully we've already picked it up, but if not, low hanging fruit. And then once a low apparent bidder has been selected and contracted, you can negotiate change orders and reduce his cost.
Yeah. Okay.
You can ask for subcontractors, we do it all the time. You can ask for local preference, we do it all the time. You can go through and indicate that subcontractors' local involvement is important to you and use that as a reason to hire somebody or not. All the time. But it's very important that we write it into the bid documents because you need to have some basis for that. We usually do outreach. We usually call, what I'm gonna ask for you before we go out to bid is I'm gonna ask you, whoever you pick is always you. I'm not coming with anybody, all right? I'm completely independent. I don't use architects to help me get work, and I don't use contractors to help me get work. I got no allegiance. I don't even know you, man. So that's a good example, right? I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna get to know him, but but my point is, I'm not aligned to him. So you guys pick who you want to use. I want to make sure you're doing accordance with law, so that when you make the selection, it makes sense. And if he's not low bid, he's not low bid, right? He's not low bid, but he's a guy down the street that's paying the taxes for the building you're building, might make sense, but there has to be rationale for it. So we have to put that together. So no, I'm not negotiating pieces or parts of that with him, but we can pull parts out. I can pull out any bid package we want strategically for a number of reasons, as I mentioned before. It might be a long lead item. It might be because you got a local guy that supplies signage. You can break anything out. We just have to buy it in accordance with procurement law, and I'll work closely with you to make sure, Jamie, that we're doing that. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, I did. Just one little follow-up. So do you have the ability to make that bid submittal more transparent where you ask to see all the subs and they have to share all that
Yes.
information and everything?
All the time.
So,
And that's important. We actually too
part of that.
quantify, generally local, oftentimes people use zip codes to do that. So, you guys all know, but the way to make it objective is you play out a zip code, and then you track everybody, you hit a percentage of local based upon the zip code where these companies are actually headquartered on. That's the easiest way to tie that back.
kind of have to figure back to your controlling, the local part of it and the different subs. I guess that's one advantage to the process versus, otherwise you're getting a bid and they may not share any of that information.
Yeah. And they're not gonna, we believe that locals are absolutely critical. It doesn't matter if I'm working with school district New Bloomfield or in middle of the state, it doesn't matter where we go, that's always gonna be a priority. That makes sense. Having said that, one bid will kill you. One bid is gonna kill you, because that one bidder knows he's the only bidder. Because he's touching all the subs, he is very when I bid work, I am very keenly aware of who else has bid the job, right? Because nobody comes into a bid day event, a general contractor, who hasn't overlapped the other bidders with some sub or supplier. It just happens. And when you come into a bid, oh my God, there's nobody out there bidding this work except for me, it will impact you. And it may not impact you. I always say, people say, well, this general contractor, he's been working with us a long time, he's my good friend, and he would never screw us, he probably wouldn't. But if he knows all the subs know too, right? And it's a spiraling effect. You know what I mean? He only controls 15% of the job unless he's self-performing something. So he might be giving you a 2% break and being very aggressive, right? That's 2% of the job. What happened to the other 85%? Just takes a couple subs to know they're also playing, right? And they're solo to jack that right back up. You know what I mean? It happens very quickly. And I know that for a fact. So that makes sense. So as much as we want local to win, for sure, we do need to make sure you get at least a second bid. Because those two will keep each other honest, and it will result in literally 5% of your job, of the dollars you spend, could be impacted by no competition. Right, so we'll tighten it down as much as we can for that, until I'm like, oh man, if we do this, though, we really won't get anybody else to bid this work. Or you might have two local guys right here. Then perfect. I don't know. I'll ask you guys. I'll ask you. Do you have two local guys right here that can do this job? Great.
Yeah, I get calls all the time. They're always, wanting to, like, hey, let me ask questions, and they're interested. So we do have some local people here, and I'm sure through that process we can, pull together a good team. So
Perfect. Right? I mean, the local guy already's got the advantage of local subs and so forth. I will tell you, at Pennsylvania, out of Southeast Missouri, who was a negotiated contractor, the only one working for Catholic Charities Lighthouse, who walked away from a job at 8.8. Walked away, said, you cannot do it cheaper, and I'm the local guy, and I got control of every sub here. Nobody else, first of all, we can touch the job. And third, I control the market. This was in Cape Girardeau. True story. We got two other bids to make a total of 3 numbers on the table for Catholic Charities Lighthouse. It's important to me. That was important to me. That was anyway. 7.5, 8.8, 7.5. And you want to know something? 80% of subs are the exact same ones. They really were. They just knew all of a sudden they had to sharpen their pencil. Pencil got kicked by his own subs. That's the truth. And I knew it, but he couldn't get them to move because he'd already committed all of them. We're the team, right? As soon as the electrician had another electrician out of St. Louis coming down to bid on the work, he sharpened his pencil. Robinson, and they still were the same one, but I saw their numbers. It was literally $500,000 just on the electrical. It was nuts. Anyway, sorry. So that really is true. I didn't mean to spit off on you. I am much shorter when we get into meetings. I don't spend. I promise. Plus you work with Scott and Clint, it'll be good. Good stuff. All right, thank you, man. Thank you for the questions. You got 4 people to look at. I'm sure they're all good. I respectfully ask for the opportunity to work with you. So what we do is all we do. I don't want everyone to lose a job when I know I can make a difference. I think I can. Right. Awesome. Appreciate that. Shake all your hands.
Thanks for
Thanks for
coming.
coming.
Thank you.
absolutely, maybe working with you, I think.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Green button. There you go.
Thank you.
Well, I suppose we'll set the other 3 up or see if they want to come in for an interview at the next meeting. And in the meantime, they can check references on these 4.
Yeah, listen to this.
I'm full of energy. Yeah, I wish I had that much energy right now.
It's like, dude. That shows passion.
Are there any other questions on the RFQ? If not, since we have no new business, are there any announcements?
I'd like to make a little announcement. Got to experience an event Sunday at Katie's Barbecue. And I'll tell you, we had one hell of a team with PCAD and our 911 operators. We had a lady choking. And member at her table tried the Heimlich and then had no luck. And then I was doing my best with the Heimlich. And thank God we had Lucas Lansing, who chose to have dinner there that day. He is works for Johnson County Sheriff's Office. He took over the Heimlich maneuver, and I would say he was working on her for 2.5 to almost 3 minutes trying to get this lodged out of her. In the meantime, I got onto the phone with Leona Anson from dispatch. And Leona was amazing on how she asked questions to me, so I could paint her the picture of what was going on in that room at that moment. So she knew on what people to get sent to us. We had PCAD there, I would say within 4 to 5 minutes. I think that's probably the quickest I've ever seen them get to Katie's Barbecue, because I know the last time somehow they took the longest route to us because they went to 32nd. But this time they came down the right direction, and I mean, they were there just as Lucas got her unlodged and breathing, she passed out on us. PCAD came in and took over. I just want to say thank you to all of PCAD and our 911 operators, Leona Anson and Brianna Doyle, because Brianna she dispatched EMS in the fire department. And the lady was 84 years old. She survived just fine. She was conscious when she did leave. So make sure our PCAD members get a congratulations on that. I didn't get their names because so much was going on. But also during all that happening, the customers of Katie's Barbecue were pretty amazing too, because every table I turned and looked at not only helped move tables out of the way, so when PCAD got there, they all stopped their dinners and they all started praying. I'd never seen such a sight in my life, to see everybody in that restaurant praying. And I'll tell you, God moves and put the right people that day in the right spots to get this woman still alive. So thank you, PCAD, for everything.
You're welcome. That's what we do. I'll make sure to approve.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other announcements? I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.